Facilities and Safety Committee. Sarah, you guys all set online? Oh, somebody's got their,
I'm trying to get it
oh,
on.
you're good. If you guys will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Sarah, are we good?
Yes.
Could you also call roll for us?
I will.
Thank you.
Councilmember Tabernick,
Present.
Councilmember Reeds,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson, absent. Councilmember Howard, absent. Councilmember Glover,
Here.
Councilmember Dawson,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Bartholomew, Councilmember McEllen, Council Chairman Passman,
Here.
Committee Chair Cunningham,
Present.
you have a quorum.
Thank you. Ask for approval for the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, well, I'll second it.
First by Mr. Passman, second by York.
Mr. Dyson.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is approved. Approval of the minutes from the January 2023 meeting.
I'll move to approve those.
I will second.
Motion and approved. Do we have any citizens' comments? I don't see any online either. We'll close out citizens' comment and move right into number 7 on our first agenda item. Recommend approval of resolution authorizing the county administrator to enter into a lease agreement with Beaufort County Memorial Hospital or its designee, the real property located at 114 Elliott Street. I believe this is Brittany.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
114 Elliott Street is part of 6 different parcels that we actually purchased last fall from TCL. We have been in communications with Beaufort Memorial. At this time, they have a lack of housing and an influx in nurses and other staff members that they are trying to quickly find some at least temporary housing for so that they can become staff members at the hospital. In our discussions about 114 Elliott Street, they are a nonprofit. Pursuant to the Beaufort County policy, they would receive a 50% reduction in the rental rate. Our appraiser has provided a average rental rate for this size home at $18.10 a month. That being said, Beaufort Memorial would be leasing it from the county for $9.50 a month. And pursuant to that agreement, we would use this as an exception to Beaufort Memorial and who they are and associated with the county, and allow them to sublease the property. That sublease would be with the individual nurses or other staff members. So that would keep it so that the Beaufort Memorial is still obligated for any liability or for the rent if not paid. But it would allow for them to contract with the staff and the nurses on their end.
Who pays the utilities?
It would be for Beaufort Memorial to pay those.
The insurance and et cetera, et cetera.
We would still have our house insurance on it as the property owner, but they would have the renter's insurance.
And is the rate that they're gonna require gonna be greater than what we're charging? Like, meaning, can they make profit off of
No, that is not the intention of this. They would be renting it
For the
to
amount that they-
staff, yes. And that is on them to decide, and I am not saying that they are going to sublease it. They may use this as some property that they can have temporary housing in, meaning somebody's moving to the area and just needs somewhere to live for 2 or 3 weeks. So it is on them, and we're allowing that flexibility for them.
So I guess my question is, do we have it written in the contract that they can't make a profit on it? Meaning, if we're gonna give them a 50% discount, they can't go rent it for $1,500, and that's the extra $1,600 that they can use to pay for other things.
We can include that in there. That is not typically in our lease contract, but I can make sure that it is included.
I mean, that's just an idea for me. I don't
No,
know how anybody else
understood.
feels about it, but I figure if we're gonna give a discount, we should probably make sure that they can at least profit on our
Understood.
discount.
I'm thinking that this is for affordable housing, because they can't find housing. Is that what it is, or is they want to,
So Beaufort Memorial has a staffing shortage at this time. So they are trying to bring in staff into the area, and they are having, I'll say, some setbacks when, in that hiring process, because they don't have immediate housing for a nurse or a doctor that's coming into the area. So they would be using this property as a tool to bring in a nurse and allow for them to stay at the property for a short period of time. Or it may be that they have a traveling nurse. Some traveling nurses are only here for 3 months, some 6 months. So this would be used to facilitate and help their staffing issues.
and, well, let me, since I have the floor, then, how many, this is just one unit,
This is one single-family home. It is a
Okay.
3-bedroom.
3-bedroom? And, okay,
Would 3 nurses get to live in it, or just one?
That would be at Beaufort Memorial's discretion.
Oh, okay.
They've also
that was
had
my
other
leading question,
situations
too.
whereby, for instance, we were told there's been several doctors that have come and they would be willing to come, but they can't find a house right away.
Right.
So it may be that they find its best purpose is to allow for a doctor and his family to stay there for a short period of time while they find a house.
Yeah.
I do want to be clear that we are also discussing with Beaufort Memorial the option and what to do with the property in its entirety, meaning all 5 properties. So this is the property that I'll say is in the best condition to allow for an immediate use of it. So that's why this is the only one coming forward today.
Which makes sense that that was our original idea behind it when we purchased this property from TCL, was some type of housing for nurses or doctors in that area, so.
Correct. So
Then what happens after, say, if a person comes, a doctor or whatever, 3 months, the rent stops?
no. Again, Beaufort Memorial and the county would be in a lease. So we would be the landlord, they are the tenant. They are obligated to pay that rental amount regardless if anybody's occupying the property or not.
Got you.
'Cause
So they may have to make a little profit there just to keep the rent.
Well, one of my other questions was gonna be, don't we give money to Beaufort Memorial? So
We
wouldn't in
do
turn
provide
be-
some funding.
Would they be in turn just repaying us with our own funds? I mean, I'm just asking.
It's possible.
This is pursuant to the Beaufort County leasing policy.
Just
It is-
throwing it out there.
There is a discretion in the lease policy that allows council to lease property at
Yeah,
the rate in which they believe is appropriate.
I'm for it. I think it's a great idea. It was our original idea behind it. Do we have a motion to move this forward, or any other questions for Ms. Ward?
I will certainly make that motion.
Mr. Passman makes the motion, a second.
I'll second that.
Do we need a roll call, or can we move this forward unanimously to county council? Move that forward, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8 is recommend approval of a resolution to commission two solid waste and recycling enforcement officers. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Does anybody need any clarity on this one, or did you guys check the backup documents?
We got it.
Any objection? Move forward without objection. Number 9, recommend approval of a resolution to accept the 2023 Palmetto Pride Litter Enforcement Grant Award. Actually, you know what? 9, 10, and 11 all go together.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and take those all together if that's okay, unless anybody has an objection to that.
Mr. Chairman, before we go, can I go back to number 8? Just for
We
a
can,
second?
sure,
Yeah,
for discussion purposes.
yeah, Neil is not here, is he? Oh, okay,
Jared's on it.
yeah. Is this Entrell home, I thought he's currently working in that capacity, is he not?
He
or
is. So in 2019, we established our trail as the first code enforcement under solid waste. So at convenience centers or illegal dumping or at boat landings, he had that authority. In 2020, we came back to council and we asked for 2 more. So basically the foreman over the convenience centers. So John Millage and Deidre Brown. Since then, Deidre has left. And so this would be making 2 more, so 2 more individuals with that authority. So that's what this is about.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you, appreciate it. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, you're
Okay.
fine. Take number 9, 10, and 11 all together. Number 10 is recommended approval of a resolution to accept the 2023 Palmetto Pride Litter Crew Grant Award. Number 11 is a recommended approval of a resolution to accept the 2023 Palmetto Pride Keep South Carolina Beaufort Affiliate Support Grant Award. Do I have a motion for those 3?
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Jared, do we need any background information on those 3?
I can give
Briefly.
you just a 1-minute overview on
That
all
would
3
be
of them.
fantastic.
So these 3 are ones that we apply for annually. They're 100% grants. There's no match required from DHIC. The first one is $6,500 for equipment and training purposes. The second one is $25,000 for litter cleanup with, we use that with an outside vendor. Our Adopt a Highway programs, they're allowed to pick up on the shoulders, but not in the center median. So along US 21 and SC 170, we would be using an outside vendor to help on that. And then the last one is $10,000 towards waste reduction, and that supports our Adopt a Highway program. So all 3 of them are ready to be expended for next fiscal year. It's just a matter of accepting the grants.
And all 3 are below the threshold, so they can be done at committee level?
Well, yeah, so,
A resolution, so that goes to council.
And the reason we bring it forward is because the departments worked hard to get this.
Right.
grants, and I think council ought to know about it.
Okay, so all 3 do need to go forward to council then, okay? Do we have a motion to move these to council? Oh, we did, you're right. A vote, any objection?
No, but I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to, I know they do it every year, but I want to thank the Solid Waste and Recycling Department, as you noted, for putting these grants in, because even though they're sort of auto, you get it, they still have to apply for it. So somebody still has to put in the time, and I appreciate they did that.
yep, absolutely.
Any others? Any objection? Move this forward unanimously for 9, 10, and 11. Number 12, recommend approval of a resolution authorizing Beaufort County to work with the town of Hilton Head to develop sustainable and viable long-term residential solid waste management, recycling, and organic waste solutions. That's you, Jared, and Dave, correct?
Yep. So Dave can be my reinforcement. Hopefully, I can pitch it to you guys and make sense out of it. So what this is the Greater Island Council Subcommittee for Sustainability coordinated with Town of Hilton Head staff and with us, our solid waste staff, and collectively said, hey, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing with our waste. We want to do better. We recognize the county that you're working through efforts to establish a MRF and composting and everything sustainable in solid waste. We appreciate that, and we intend to work together as you develop your facilities to have our trash processed at your facilities. So this is a kumbaya with us in the town. They've already approved it on their end, this resolution, and our hope is that we'll take this resolution after passed at our council and take it to the other municipalities and have a similar resolution with all 6 municipalities within the county. And then, again, once our facilities are established, that waste stream would process through. So that's the intent and the purpose.
Mr. Chairman,
Absolutely.
tonight, Greater Island Council, how do they get involved with this?
They just stand up and they're volunteers that are ready to be in action, is all I can guess. I think Chairman Passman is on the Greater Island Council, and I don't know if anybody else is, but they're a very involved group.
And again, these last 9 or 10 months getting into this position, I ran across a lot of people, quite a few people that have some issues with the GIC. And do you know the people involved with that? Who runs that GIC? Is that Peter Christian? Is it former council members? No.
Before we finish discussion, can we get a first and second to open up discussion?
Oh,
Sorry, I forgot it. That's on me. So if we can get a first and a second.
I'll make a motion.
A first, Mr.
I'll
Passman?
second it.
A second, sorry.
Sorry about that, no.
No.
Again, I want to understand because just a couple of weeks ago at our previous council, we have, and I'm trying to read everything I can to get up to speed with everybody, but we voted for a Charlotte group,
HDR.
HDI, to have an open-ended contract up to $500,000 to do, I'd say, all of what you're probably proposing here right now. I just don't understand why we need the Greater Island Council involved with that, guiding the town of Hilton Head and us to do.
They're not, they're just a interested party that wants to see better in our solid waste as a region and as a county. So they reached out to the town, and the town said, we don't have a problem with what you're asking for. What is the county doing? So all three of us worked together to develop this language that basically says, we aim to do better with our waste. And that's what this resolution is.
Is there any relationship with, I heard some of the folks speak on this behalf. I see there's no fiscal obligations, responsibilities. Do they have any authority to mandate? In other words, I think I heard somebody from, and Chairman Passman tell me if I'm mistaken here, some of these folks with the GIC, I talked about having a mandatory program where all, let's use Hilton Head for an example. All residents there to pay for a fee for garbage removal, whether they use the service or not. And there's a lot of people that use that Dillon Road Recycling Center. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Now, do they have any authority to dictate?
No,
Anything?
the Greater Island Council doesn't have any authority to do any policy. That's a county council or a town council policy level. They could, just like anybody else, petition a thought or a concept, and that's all they are. HDR would be somebody, if that was something we were interested in as a county, and the town of Hilton Head as a partner, HDR would be the entity that would study that and see if it's a worthwhile endeavor and give us the pros and cons to whether we made a mandatory curbside pickup. So that's where that concept would be evaluated through that on-call contract that we have with HDR.
Well, Jared, I appreciate you saying what you're saying, and I just want to go on record saying that I would hope, whether it be the GIC, the town or the county council, or the folks from Charlotte, that nobody mandates anything to the people that we represent. I would hope that never gets to that, and somehow I heard along the way, and I'm not sure if it was, I think it was the GIC, that would like to do that, have it mandated. So, again, I want to go on record saying that
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we're going to allow groups to influence, and we got town council, we have county council that look out for the interests of the people, which we're elected to do. There's a group, I see this causing an issue with, let's take the bridge, for example. I just want to throw it out there so it's on the record. You got a group of people saying they're about 10 or 11,000 strong, signing petitions about how a bridge should go or whatever. Are you going to give that group the same credence we're giving the GIC?
So
Again, I just don't
they have
understand.
provided input. That group has provided input. We've updated and modified some of our plans because of some of their comments. I would liken this to the Friends of the Spanish Moss Trail or the Friends of Garden Corner or all the different special interest groups that we have across the county. They can come up and present to council or town council and provide any of their thoughts and feedback. It's up to the councils whether they take that feedback. In this case, they actually did because it was in line with what the town and county both are desiring to achieve.
Thank you.
If it was something way offline, they could say, thank you for your comment, and then continue to write a resolution that has none of their comments included in it. So I wouldn't be overly concerned that a group is helping form a resolution, just that at the end of the day, only the councils can create policy or adopt a resolution.
Jared, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
The GIC was instrumental in the 2018 referendum to advocate for Hilton Head Island residents to support that referendum.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Who's on the Greater Island Council?
There are business leaders, executives, a wide variety of people from Hilton Head Island and off island. who
And
are-
do they have a monthly meeting someplace
They
that they
do.
meet?
They
Is
do.
it open to the public?
Oftentimes, they will have guest speakers in, oftentimes they will have guests come in. They have been meeting via Zoom because of COVID, and the place where they used to meet has been renovated. For the first time in 2.5 years, I think they're going to have a meeting in person.
And is that on the island someplace?
It is. It used to be at USCB,
Oh,
but I'm not sure where they're going to meet this time.
Could I ask one more question then? If it's possible, could I join you in that meeting? Again, I've had an awful lot of people reach out to me and say they're uneasy with the GIC. And I'd
Okay.
like to really understand what they're all about, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jared?
Yeah, since Dave is here, I'd like to hear from Dave, if you don't mind. Particularly as it deals with the recovery center, where we are with that, and
Good afternoon, Dave Willem, Deputy Director of Public Works. For the material recovery facility, we are still moving forward, slowly, unfortunately. Our original plan was to site the facility at the Simmonsville Community Center in Bluffton. It does not look like that's going to be viable, so we're considering other options right now. And hopefully within the next few weeks to a month, we'll be coming forward with a recommendation.
good. What about our the timetable for us and the current landfill?
The existing landfill, our contract expires end of June 2025.
Right.
The existing landfill, I believe, has, I've heard anywhere from 5 to 7 years capacity left. So we need to be looking at other options. I believe Waste Management may be applying for a landfill expansion. I have not seen that permit yet. In any case, we may want to consider other alternatives. We may be looking at transfer stations. So, working with Jared and Neil and the Solid Waste Group, we'll be looking at all those options. And it has to happen, you're absolutely right, it has to happen pretty quickly.
Yes, sir. Thank you, appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Can we move this forward with no objections? See no objections, moving forward, number 12. Number 13, recommend approval to replace asset 23214, a 2008 Freightliner M2 tractor truck with a day cab lowboy tractor 2024 HX 620. Jared, if I remember correctly, did this go over?
This one, this is $190,000,
Yeah,
so
it's
this
right
one
under
only
it.
needs committee approval. This is our tractor trailer that drives our lowboy that hauls our equipment around at Public Works. The engine is blown. To repair the engine, it would be less cost effective to do that than purchase a new one. So we have money in the budget, the current budget, and this would be the purchase of that new tractor trailer truck.
Do we have,
I have a question.
do we have a motion to begin?
I will second
In a
that.
second?
Do we get, we're purchasing a piece of equipment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we go to 3 different places to get bids, or how does that work?
This one is Sourcewell. So Sourcewell is a pre-bid, state-approved, county-approved resource where they go ahead and bid out certain projects, a lot of public works type projects, even facility management type projects are components that governments use frequently. So they do the pre-bidding, we select off their pre-vetted list and then make the purchase order based off that
Okay,
selection.
all right.
Yes, ma'am.
And Jared, Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Jared.
Absolutely.
I see all the information about the specs of the vehicle. Do you have an estimate for the cost of repair versus replacement cost?
I don't have that available, but it's a cost I can get. It's something our fleet and public works probably worked on.
And then my other question is, what's the typical lifespan? I saw 70,000.
Well, this is 15 years right here. So, I mean, from a tractor trailer, they're obviously going to last a lot longer than a regular vehicle. I would estimate 15 to 20 years is probably what you're looking at.
Yeah, just 70,000 miles, breaking at 70,000.
So our Our truck doesn't get the same amount of mileage as a tractor trailer that's driving every day, but it still gets enough mileage where you're gonna have to do routine maintenance on a periodical basis, and then, so.
Any other questions for Jared? I would say just with it being so close to the 200, we should probably bring it up at council for the ones that aren't here, because it's the $10,000 difference. But move this forward with any objections?
No.
See no objections,
And
moving.
you said, just so I understand, we're moving it forward to council for consideration?
I would just bring it up to council. I believe we can approve it here today, right? Yeah, it'd be approved today. I would just like to speak on it to the rest of the council members that aren't here to let them know later today if they're here or at the next meeting, just because it is so close to that threshold. Because we just adjusted that 6 months ago, Eric, somewhere around there?
Yeah,
About a year ago.
About a year ago?
We'd recommend that you just do that as part of your liaison committee reports at the next council meeting.
Perfect.
Once everyone joins.
Move this forward, no objection? See no objection. Number 14, recommend approval of stormwater procurement request for John Deere 6110M Bush Hog with boom attachment.
So this similar is a replacement equipment. So currently we have a tractor with a bush hog attachment to the rear of it too is inoperable. It's another older piece, about 14 years old. This would be a replacement with a tractor and then the sidearm, which is actually more efficient, and we can get more places with that. So it's equivalent replacement, but just an upgraded version. And this is $205,000, so this would need full council approval.
To go to council. Jared, do you want to go ahead and just discuss 15 and 16 as well?
Well, let's take action on 14.
Yeah, those are
Okay,
different.
they're
Those are
different.
with
Yeah, I'm sorry.
transportation.
Do we have a recommendation?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I will second.
And this does have to move to council
Yes.
with no objection. See no objection. Number 15, recommend approval to award sole source contract year 6 rejuvenator to Pavement Technologies.
And if you want to, I think 15 and 16 would make sense to take together.
Absolutely. Recommend approval to award IFB number 021423, year 6 preservation to Slurry Pavers Incorporation.
So these two are part of our resurfacing, our 5-year resurfacing plan. So we're currently in the first year of our second plan. We had a report that said these are the roads that you need to do. We gave them the approximate amount of funding, about $2.5 million that we have, that we utilize from CTC to fund the pavement on these roads. And the difference in these two, neither one of this is typical resurfacing as we know it, as far as the mill and fill 2 inches. These are set save of preventative maintenance, which preventative maintenance means that we're working on good roads. And the key in asphalt management is taking the right selection at the right road at the right time. So the difference in these two products, the Rejuvenator is a spray that you spray on new roads, and basically it puts injects a chemical into the asphalt so that asphalt stays flexible for a longer period of time, so it's not as hard and brittle and doesn't break as quickly. So you do that usually the first year after paving roads, and then you can do it up to year 4, year 5, and then you usually move on to a different treatment. The preservation slurry pavers, this is a micro surface, so this is about a 3/8 of an inch application. It looks black like asphalt, but it's an emulsified asphalt. And what it does, it seal coats and protects. We're trying to protect against water penetrating in down into the subbase, and that's where you get reflective cracking, and then you start losing your asphalt. So this too, right pavement at the right time. So this is typically on a 3 to 5 year old pavement after it's oxidized, but it hasn't started cracking yet. There can be some minor cracks, but not major cracks that it'll seal up. And the fact that our whole year 6 resurfacing program was nothing but preventative maintenance techniques says a lot about the condition of our roads in Beaufort County that we own and operate. So this will help extend the life of those for a lower cost, and then there will be others. It's a big juggling act that you want to make the worst ones with potholes over here with a full mill and fill, but you also want to juggle the good ones at the same time, and how much money do you spend on both of those. So it just so happens that this is the treatment that was recommended in our report. So we're exercising the report, and then you have the cost there. Both of these, again, are CTC funded. They were approved. The Rejuvenator was approved in January, and then the slurry pavers, the microsurface, was approved in February by CTC.
Mr.
Do
Chair,
we,
can I ask
absolutely,
a question?
yeah, absolutely. Can we, let's put in, we need a motion first for number 15 and 16, open
I'll
up
move.
discussion.
I'll move for those.
I'll second.
Perfect. First and second, and floor is yours.
So, again, can you, for anybody listening, I'm sure there's thousands, tell them what CTC is again?
Yep, sure. I try to remember to knock down these acronyms, but we
Sorry.
have our own vernacular in transportation. So CTC is County Transportation Committee. Each county has a committee of which gas tax funds, 3% or 3 pennies of gas tax out of what you pay when you fill up are taken out of, right now I think we're at 28 cents a gallon is our full gas tax that goes to the state. Out of that, 3 cents goes to county CTCs, and they have a formula based off land mass and population and number of rural road miles, and they disperse the funds amongst all 46. We get about $2.5 to $3 million per year based off that formula, and then out of that, CTC the County Transportation Committee has to distribute 33% of that back onto DOT roads. The other 67% can be expended on any other public roads within the county.
And I attended their retreat, and all of this was explained. It was very, very well explained. Because
Over-explained, probably be accurate.
Yeah, but because what's interesting to me on this item 15, they're a sole source provider. And so they can do the non-competitive purchase.
Yeah, 15 is still a proprietary treatment. It is widely used. We actually did a study. Charleston uses it a lot. DOT doesn't quite use it that much, and we, along with Charleston County, have done some studies in Corin to show that, look, it is an effective treatment. We're trying to get it on their qualified products list, but we're kind of getting ahead of DOT. They're usually not the first one to adopt a new product, but this is a new product, proprietary technique that we've seen great success with so far.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Anybody else?
Quickly, this will be used on all roads, including DOT as well in Beaufort County.
Yes, so the slurry pavers will be on all roads, microsurface. Right now, the Rejuvenator is just gonna be on our county roads. Once DOT approves the product, then we could use it on their roads as well.
I just want to say that I think the CTC is actually on top of their game right now.
We have
So I wanted to put
one of the more forward-thinking CTCs in the state, I would argue. Yes.
I didn't know that, but I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, and a very active, and they're doing a great job. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Anyone else before we take the vote?
I just have a question about 16, where it says alternative for roadway herbicide of 96,000. What is, can you
Yeah,
kind of explain
so,
that?
so there's two add-ons that we have, the 92,000 and the 370. So the 92,000, this is a spray up against the curb that keeps the grass from growing up alongside the curb and getting trash in the curb. Again, it's just a maintenance technique. So that's what that 96,000, that's an add option for us. And then the 370,000 is we have, some roads are gonna need some full depth patching. We know that. We just don't know exactly how much till we get out there and mark it all out. So we have an allowance for that and just general contingencies in that 370,000. So we carry a 15% contingency on our resurfacing projects. So the base bid plus the add-on and the contingency is the 2.8 million, which is the contract value for approval.
Without objection to go to council? So moved, move forward without objection. And number 17, our final one, recommend approval of resolution authorizing the acquisition of real property to the right-of-way associated with the near-term improvements on South Carolina 170. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
that. Second that.
Jared, do you want to, this is the final piece, right? You said there's one or two more things we have to get ironed out before we can start moving forward?
So we're very close on taking action on the near-term project. So this is the only piece of real estate that we needed to procure. It's very small sliver, so this is 1,000 square feet for about $7,500. This is at Oakady Boulevard South. We have a bulb out for our R-cut, or our
Yes,
U-turn,
thank you.
fancy U-turn. So we have to acquire this right away. We're working with DOT and putting our project together with their planned project, which is resurfacing the ramps and also a section of 278 on top of the bridge from 170 to the Oakady River Bridge. So us pairing that project it's great that we were able to do that. That's not something that's always done, so I'm glad we were able to work with DOT to do that. They have reviewed the project plans, the permit. We had the permit approved by DOT. That sliver on the bottom, the new right-of-way, is what this would be purchasing. So working with DOT, the last step in the process is formalizing the IGA with their legal department on how those funds are maneuvered. And once that is done, that would be the last step for us to put this project out to bid and start construction. So as soon as we get the legals to talk to one another, and really it's in DOT's court at this second, but as soon as we get that thumbs up, we'll be ready to put the project out.
Any other questions for Jared?
When do you anticipate this project might, if everything goes right, might start to disrupt everybody's life? Because it's going to.
It will, but it's short term. The
I know,
project
short-term.
construction isn't that long of construction. Probably by the time we get the final approval with DOT and then put it out to bid and then issue a notice to proceed, we're probably at 3 to 4 months
Wow.
out. And then we expect a 6 to 8 month construction time window. So a lot of that's gonna be resurfacing on 278, and both 278 and 170 are nighttime roads, so contractors aren't allowed to pave during the day, so that's a nighttime paving operation. So besides any shoulder work, most of the work's gonna be performed at nighttime.
That's one way to put it, though.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what you say when they get to the bridge.
This will be Merry Christmas time, 3 months, 6 months out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of this year.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, while I am not going to oppose this, a couple questions. From the bulb out to Del Webb Boulevard, what's the approximate distance?
It's, Del Webb is probably a mile or so down the road. This is at
You think it's
Oakady.
that far?
This is Oakady Boulevard South.
No, I know, it's
Mhm.
Oakady Boulevard South. I thought it was closer than that.
I think it's closer towards a mile than it is half a mile.
Okay. Okay. Now, visualizing the bulb out, traffic going, when I'm looking at the screen, from left to right,
Yep.
how does it
So
proceed?
Oakady Boulevard South, which is Food Line access,
Yes.
is to the right on this screen.
Yes. I know
And
they will only be right in, right out.
that's correct. So if they want to head north on 170, they would take a right out, come to this U-turn, and this U-turn would allow the opportunity for them to make that movement and head back north.
Okay. And traffic going south continues straight?
That's correct.
They don't curve down like
No,
that?
no, so it doesn't affect the geometry. It's still a straight section, tangent
Okay.
section. The only thing that is affected is if you're trying to go north, you have to enter into the center turn lane and then make that movement.
Okay.
Are you using bulb out simultaneously with our cut?
Yeah,
Are you just
so,
trying to confuse me?
no, the bulb out, the only thing is, the R cut is actually the cut in the middle.
Right.
The bulb out is to have enough room to make it. So if this was already widened out, for instance, we're not doing this, but just for instance, on 278, there's already 6 lanes of traffic. So if you tried to make that maneuver, there wouldn't be any extra needed asphalt because you can make that turn. This one, because we only have 4 lanes, and they're not a lot of separation in between, this is the extra asphalt needed to make the movement. Most vehicles, car vehicles, are not even really gonna need the bulb out. This would mostly be the truck
Trucks and
maneuvers.
stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, the R cuts look like 170 Walmart, that's right.
Okay.
They just don't have the bulb. There's a bulb out currently at the signal at WK Austin, so it looks like that. So if you're coming out of Walmart, you've got to turn right to turn
Oh,
left.
yeah, I know where you're talking from, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We need a roll call.
No.
Let's move forward with council with no objection. And I see no objection, and that closes out our agenda. Before we go, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and Jared, I'm probably gonna pull you right back up. Sorry, you're gonna be busy today. We had our budget workshop just last week or the week before, and one of the things we all talked about and we spent hours on was talking about Jared's super penny and what the next idea is. And when we originally went for the green space, we said 2 years because we knew 2024 is when we were gonna be discussing bringing something back to the public. We weren't sure what, but we didn't wanna handcuff ourselves. I'll be honest, I was surprised the green space passed. I supported it, but it was done very, very quickly. And it did barely pass. And a lot of people probably supported it just because of the description of green space, with not even knowing what they were voting on. With that said, we're there, the committee, our first meeting is tomorrow on that, to continue forward of what we're gonna do with those funds and how we're gonna use those and start tackling that. But to be proactive and not put ourselves in that same situation, I wanted to talk to Jared about what does that next steps look like? If we're gonna move forward and not put ourselves behind an 8 ball again, like, I'd realistically love to say we're gonna move forward with something and bring this forward to the public to educate by the end of this year. If it's something we're gonna do, because then that gives us 8 to 9 months for all of us to go to our districts and our people, and the municipalities get time out to them, and for us to be able to start those discussions. So what does that look like, and what do we need to do to equip to you to move forward with that and start getting some type of feedback, so we're not just talking in a room and running our mouths and doing nothing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first point of correction is it's not Jared's penny, super penny. This is Beaufort County's super penny. That's probably the biggest thing for us to take away here.
It's easier to put your name on it.
No. This is Beaufort County's super penny. I just had the pleasure of introducing
Your
it.
wonderful idea that you presented to Beaufort
There we
County.
go.
There you go.
And we worked on it collectively. So I would say next steps. I'm glad you mentioned it. We had a great retreat. We talked about it, but now is implementation. If this is something that we're for real about, what's our next steps? I would say our first step is to coordinate with our municipality partners, and first at a staff level, and have the opportunity to talk to them, let them hear the concept, give us input, and get their buy-in. I think that's prudent and step number one. They're a big partner. This is not a Beaufort County proper super penny concept. This is a Beaufort County regional concept. So we need all those partners that are bought in, so they too can educate their constituents as well. After we educate staff, I would say then it goes to council. So we need to get the staff involved in it first, and then we can bring it to all the councils. So some bit of a roadshow in that, going from council meeting to council meeting. Hopefully, maybe we could coordinate some of those meetings so we're not going to 6 different meetings, but something of that sort. I would say the next step, and whether it's simultaneously or shortly thereafter, getting started with the municipalities, is establishing a tax oversight committee. So that was something we set up last year, and they provided recommendations. I think if we set it up right, it could be one committee that's over all 3 pennies. And it could also be not just something to help us come up with the rules and procedures, but also that could be an oversight committee that stays with the program as another level of transparency and recommendation to council. So what that looks like, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think that committee, one of the questions I know the municipalities are going to have, well, how do we select projects? How do we do this? How do we do that? I think having a committee that represents the county at whole, again, not sure what that looks like specifically, but a representative committee can help provide those details that staff and even municipality staff and county staff can work together to be the sounding board or liaison for said committee. I think those 2 things are probably our next steps and can be accomplished in the next couple of months. And as you mentioned, having something ready by the end of the year, I think that's a feasible timeline, that we could have the concept and the program established. So it's at a point that we can go and educate others at that point. But then you have a full 8 or 9 or 11 months to get the word out and say, hey, this is what a penny or super penny complex would do. So
So,
that would be my thoughts.
Well,
We,
I
we,
was just gonna say,
hold, let me, we need to be careful about discussing this. This is an item that's not on our published agenda, so we need to, we can take direction from you all, but we need to move this through very quickly.
understood.
I'll just save it, it's all right.
Okay, then that leads me to my question. I'll say, what do you need from us today to take that step to open up that line of
I think we need to bring it to the next committee meeting to get said step, whether that's a resolution or
Yeah.
a action or a agenda item to act on.
Yeah,
We-
just
we-
wanted to talk about it openly in front of all of us, so, you
I
know,
underst-
it is
yeah, I
honest and
understand that.
transparent and upfront. So if we could add that to the next agenda to give whatever direction we need to give you, the resources you need, and see what happens from there. Thank you.
Appropriate?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you raising this subject, because I think it's something that we should move forward with. The only thing I would ask that you do in the future is just add the little chairman briefing or some sort
To the bottom.
agenda so that you can bring up stuff.
Understood.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I need the criticism, you know that. It's always
Well,
healthy.
criticize it.
No, it's good, I need the tools and recommendations to move forward with you. Are there anything else for the good of the order before we close out the meeting? We're adjourned.